Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages.
If you follow basketball, you know Chilltown Hoops.
So this is really good right here. Good evening, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen all over the world. Y'all know what time it is when y'all see me. It is Chilltown Hoops in the house. I know it's been a minute since you've seen me, and I've been on the road. I've been busy, and I haven't been here, but I'm back in business. I'm getting back in effect to doing what I do, and with me doing that, the thing that I want to talk about tonight is I want to talk about something that nobody is really talking about. Because again, I do understand that, you know, we expect a lot of talent to be, what it is. And with that being said, right, with that also being said, we also expect, let me make sure that I get this correct with you guys, because we have a bit of a, nope, that's not what I want to do. That's what I want to do. That's also what I want to do. And then I want to take this out. That's what I want to do. Okay, right. So I recognize that this is basically half screen, and that's not good at all. No, that's not good at all. I don't even know how we got here, but we are here. That's unfortunate. But anyway, all right. So, a lot of times when we see great players, what we have a tendency to do, right? A lot of times when we have great players, what we have a tendency to do is we put all of it on them. And not only do we put all of it, right, and not only do we put all of it on them, what we also do is we expect the other players around them to also play great. And I mean, that's just not what's going on with the Clippers right now. James Harden is not the problem. He just isn't. He's one of the main reasons why they are winning games like they winning games. But you know what I want to do for a couple of minutes? For what I want to do for a couple of minutes in my live stream is I want to talk to the people. So DJ, what's up, brother? How you been, man? Jesus Entertainment, you been good? Now it's been a minute since I've been up here, and that is a fact, sir. That is a fact, and I think that the Clippers, it's been tricky. It's been really tricky. What up, Tyler? What up, Mr. Reynolds? You doing all right? I'm good, Kush. I am. I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing really good. So Noman Khan, who is the resident Warriors fan, he has a tendency to talk about the Golden State Warriors like Noman is the epitome of what's wrong with basketball discord when it comes to fans, particularly Steph Curry fans. He is the epitome of that, right? There are guys who, there are fan bases. Let me rephrase that. There are fan bases that can be a little bit ridiculous, and Noman represents a fan base that on some level can be worse than what the Cowboys are. I don't think that the Warriors fan is worse, but I definitely think that they live in the same neighborhood. And that's because of players like Noman. Right? That's because of players like Noman who lets his fandom get in the way of actual facts. Lets his fandom get in the way of what actually is going on, right? And unfortunately, it happens to the best of fans, and with it happening to the best of fans, we got to deal with it because we are subjective to it. Like he comes into my chat, and with him coming in with and the reason why I'm addressing you guys, because I haven't seen you guys in a while, right? But I say that to say the reason why I'm addressing you is because it's important to connect with the people. And you know, guys like Noman, he's that relative, he's that resident Curry fan who is just ridiculous. He hides behind his computer screen, he hides behind a keyboard. He says some of the most ridiculous things. Like, for example, he just told me that as of today, November 2025, Steph Curry is the best point guard in the league, and it's not a question. It's no question if there's a better league guard in the league right now than Steph Curry. There isn't one. Steph Curry is the best lead guard in the league right now. Now, I could combat that, but what I don't want to do is I don't want to take away from fans being fans. I want to let fans be themselves, right? I want to let fans, I want to allow fans to be who they are, right? That's all I want to do. I want to allow fans to be who they are. I want to let fans talk about the game the way that they want to talk about the game. But with that being said, I don't have to agree with things in the sense that a guy is being just ridiculous. Like Scotty says, I stand by my statement. Eddie Curry better than Joker. Like, see, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about fans. Like, there's trolls on the internet, right? There's actual people who even sometimes in my chat, there's actual people who come and talk basketball, and we'll have some legit conversations. And then there's Scotty Snatches, right? Then there's people like him that say stuff like Eddie Curry is better than Joker. I have such a disdain for leaving out production when you're talking about playing basketball, because that's what this whole thing is about. It is about what you're producing. And when I think about what's going on with the Clippers, James Harden is far from the problem in Los Angeles. He's their engine, right? He is their engine. He is the guy that is responsible for the majority of their offense. He is the guy who is, I'm sorry. He is the guy who's responsible for all of their offense. He is the guy who's their primary ball handler, their best distributor, their best playmaker, their best scorer. Today, their best three-point shooter. And he's responsible for so much that he keeps them afloat. Like, without James Harden on the floor, as bad as this Clipper team is right now, and they're not good, right? They're not good. But as bad as they are right now, if James Harden wasn't on the floor, they'd be New Orleans. They'd be Indiana. They'd be Washington. If James Harden wasn't on the floor, I think that they would be that bad off the strength that he's responsible for so much. Now, when I watch James Harden, and I said this earlier to the fellas today, it's the gift and the curse. What I mean when I say that is James Harden is so good offensively. He's so good as a bucket getter that what he does is he makes you watch him, not purposefully, because I don't think that there's guys who do it purposefully. I think that guys want to play their game, but the problem is that James Harden, still to this day, his game is so captivating, right? His game is so captivating as a long ball shooter, as a downhill guy, even as a finisher, even as a finisher today. And he's still such a bucket getter that you find yourself watching. On top of that, he's also one of the best distributors in the game. So that's where the flip side to this is. That's where the divide is, because he will get you involved. James Harden will 100% involve you in the game. He's not one of those players who is just a bucket getter and there's nothing else that he does. No, James Harden will 100% get off the peel, right? He 100% will get off the peel. And he actually has guys who are conducive to his skill set, because that's what you do when you have an engine like James Harden, right? When you have an offensive player like James Harden, you bring guys around him who complement his game. Well, guys like John Collins. John Collins is a finisher. Chris Dunn is more of a DN3 guy / finisher. Bogey is a long ball shooter. Brook Lopez has become a long ball shooter, which all of these guys complement James Harden. James Harden gets downhill. James Harden gets to the rim, collapses the defense, kicks it out to Bogey. James Harden collapses the defense, kicks it out to Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez, we're not running offense, right? We're not running offense on the box for Brook Lopez like that. That's not what's going on with him. Derrick Jones Jr. is a finisher, and he ended up hurting his knee yesterday. Hopefully, it's not anything bad, right? Hopefully, it's not anything bad. But this is who these guys are. And then there's Kawhi Leonard. Then there's that other guy in Leonard, Leonard is the other bucket getter. Leonard is the other guy who I can go to get buckets, to create his own shot. Because I don't have that with anybody else on this crew. Unfortunately, I do not. I don't have that with anybody else on this crew. I don't have another go-getter, another guy who can go get it. Like, I watch Chris Dunn, and I think Chris Dunn can create a shot, and I'm not going to argue that point, because I do think that he will do that. Chris Dunn can get downhill. I think John Collins can get downhill, but that's with the assistance of James Harden. That was with the assistance of Trae Young. That's with the assistance of Keontae George when he was in Utah. Like, he's not a guy who we're drawing it up for him to operate at the right elbow. We're not drawing it up for him to operate at the top of the key or at the nail, and for him to just go get you a bucket. Because I'm a firm believer, and this is why James Harden isn't the problem with the Clippers. Because I can only X and O you, right? I can only X and O you for a certain amount of time. What's up, big fella? I ain't even see you in there. My fault. What up, big fella? I did not know you were there. Missed you today. I can only X and O you for a certain amount of time. At some point, can you go get me a bucket? At some point, you have to be able to go get me a bucket. At some point, I need you to get me a bucket. And I don't just mean a bucket. I mean, I need you to do this 2-3 times in a row. That's who James Harden is. That's who Carmelo Anthony was. That's who Dominique Wilkins was. That's who Alex English was. That's who I'm just thinking about bucket getters. I'm not thinking about all the other stuff. I'm just thinking about a guy who I can give you the basketball when we get into the meat and potatoes of the game, and I'm not running any offense. Go get me a bucket. Go get me a bucket. And that's who James Harden is. But I think that because he is so captivating, even still at this age, I think that they rely on him way too much to do what he's doing. I think he's averaging 27, 7, and 8. I think that's the most by any player that age in NBA history. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Clippers have a 119 offensive rating when he's on the floor. What up, Eric? How you doing, brother? He's got a 119 offensive rating when James Harden is on the floor. When James Harden is off the floor, it drops to under 100. He's their offense. If I look at everything that James Harden does as an offensive player, he is their entire offense. They need him to be that. If he isn't that, they're not winning. And they're not actually resting Kawhi Leonard. Like, he's actually banged up, unfortunately. That's who Kawhi Leonard is. And we knew that when you got him, right? We knew that when you got him, that he was on borrowed time. And I was in the minority when I said that after he tore his knee up in 21 and they went to the Western Conference Finals, that was it. That was it for this group. That was it. It was time to move on from him. Because we already knew you were on borrowed time. We already knew that the clock was ticking on him specifically. The clock's ticking on all players because, you got a shelf life in the NBA. I don't know if you guys noticed. I think the stat that I read, I believe it's per not Basketball Reference. 90% of guys don't play 10 years in the NBA. That means only 10%. That means 1 out of every 10 guys plays 10 years in the NBA. 1 out of every 10. So we're already on borrowed time, right? But then you got a guy like Leonard where the clock is ticking even faster. And with the clock ticking faster, we need this thing to work out now. Kawhi Leonard isn't a guy that you keep for 6-7 years because he's not going to hold up. So you got to get what you can get and then move on from him, right? I think you got to get what you can get. What's up, Zombie? How you doing? You got to get what you could get and then move on from him. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And James Harden has proven time and time again, and I'm not a big James Harden fan. I'll be lying to you if I said that I was a big time James Harden fan because I'm not. But James Harden has proven time and time again that he is the system. He has proven that this thing is going to run through him because he's so captivating offensively. How he gets downhill, how good he is one-on-one, how much he attracts the defense. He still has that strong hand floater in the middle of the lane on the left wing. He's still really good at creating fouls. I think he's shooting like close to 90% from the free throw line still. He's still doing that. So I'm understanding who James Harden is, what James Harden is about, and I like it. To be honest with you, it's not that I'm understanding it. I take that back because I know who James Harden is, and I think the biggest issue, I think the biggest issue is him just being able to sustain it and not have the stinkers that he has come playoff time. Yeah, come playoff time, him having the stinkers that he has. Now, with that being said, right? With that being said, the Clippers, as of today, I mean, they've been pretty bad. Yeah, they have been pretty bad, and I think that people accept sometimes when you make a mistake, and the Clippers made a mistake because they chose Bradley Beal over Norman Powell, and they did that off the strength of what Bradley Beal could possibly do. They didn't do that off the strength of who Bradley Beal is today. They did that off the strength of what Bradley Beal could possibly do. They were basically banking on Bradley Beal being able to turn back the clock, when in fact he actually turned the clock forward. And you got to see exactly what he was. And that's unfortunate, right? That is really unfortunate. So, like Sheesh Main asks, Chill, why do you think they went from the number 3 ranked defense to the last ranked defense? Well, I think a lot of that had to do with personnel, and teams are more prepared for them. Chris Dunn and Derek Jones Jr., I think that defense, I don't think it was a gimmick. I mean, I don't think it was a gimmick. I don't think it was Fugazi. I do think that they sped the game up to play a little bit faster. And with those guys not being involved, I think that kind of affected their defense. Even though James Harden does involve them, I don't think he involved them as much as they would like, and I think it affected their defense. They do play a lot more zone that I've seen. They do play a lot more zone. I don't know what happened to Zubac in terms of a rebounder, because one of the main reasons why they were, what up, D9? One of the main reasons why they were as good as they were as a defense was because of their defensive rebounding. That was one of the main reasons why. And I mean, I can make the argument that Zubac is one of the best defensive rebounders in the game. I think Joker is the best defensive rebounder in the game. And I will die on that hill. I don't think it's a better defensive rebounder in the game than Joker. But I feel like Zubac, I feel like Zubac is right there with them. So if you look at if you look at what the Clippers are doing at this point, I mean, Zubac goes from averaging 13 rebounds a game to barely 10. I think he's averaging a block. He was the anchor of their interior defense. That's not going on this season. John Collins isn't as good a defender as I thought, and I think that affects their front line. Nicholas Batum is older. Chris Paul is also older. I don't think trading Norman Powell had anything to do with their defense, but I do think that it started with I do think that it started with Zubac. You know, Kawhi Leonard I thought was good on defense, but I don't think that he was elite. I don't think he's an elite defender anymore. And I don't think he's an elite defender anymore. So because of that, I think that that's affected their defense. So, you know, the Clippers were one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the league last year. And that was largely due to Zubac. They were one of the best rim protecting teams in the league. And that was largely due to Zubac. Now, one could say that, you know, it was a fluke, but I'm here to say I think teams are more prepared for the Clippers now than they were in the past. And we put in Zubac more and we put in Zubac more into action. We're dragging him further away from the basket. We're putting him more in drop coverage. And I think that that's working for other teams' offenses. They playing fast. James Harden has never really been a point of attack defender like that. Like, he could defend even when he was in Oklahoma City. He could defend. He just, when he got to, what up, Liam? When he got to Houston, he became more of an offensive engine than a defender, because he was doing that when he was in Oklahoma City. He 100% was doing that when he was in Oklahoma City. And that went the other way when he got to Houston, because he became more of an offensive engine. And, you know, that's not to say that he couldn't. He just focused on being more of an offensive player. And I think he never went back to even entertaining being a defender. I don't think he ever even went back. I don't think he ever even entertained it. So because of that, I think that's definitely affected their defense. I'm going to turn on really quickly the Clippers Philly game right now, because that's going on. And the Clippers are ahead, but James Harden is not the problem in Los Angeles. No, he is not the problem with the Clippers. And with him not being the problem with the Clippers, they got to find other avenues where I think they got to find other avenues where they could be better. I do think that. And I think that they could turn it around. Their defense has to get better, though. Their defense 100% has to get better. The other Los Angeles team, though, which is actually the Clippers, but the other Los Angeles team, the Lakers, have been, I mean, even though they just got blown out by Milwaukee a couple of days ago, this DeAndre Ayton, Luka, DeAndre Ayton, Austin Reeves combination, it's actually working. And James, who I thought it was interesting that James talked today about, you know, what it's going to look like when he gets back into the lineup. Yep. You got blown out. I apologize, because you got blown out by Oklahoma City. You smoked Milwaukee. I'm so sorry. I got that wrong. I couldn't believe they actually blew Milwaukee out the way that they did. And Luka was not good in that game. If you let other people tell it, Luka was fantastic. No, he wasn't. He was like 1 for 10 at the long ball line. He was shooting step back shots with people in his face, and they just so happened to hold down Milwaukee. I thought they did a good job in holding down those other guys. The Oklahoma City game is who they got blown out by. Yes, I got that wrong. That's my fault. However, when I think about this DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic, pick and dive, pick and pop action, it's starting to pick up. Same thing with Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves has always been good in the pick and pop and pick and dive. He had a great chemistry, and I know I sound like a broken record with this, but he had a great chemistry with Anthony Davis when that was going on. He had a great chemistry with Anthony Davis, and I think that now getting with DeAndre Ayton, Ayton and Reeves have to get on the same page, because Ayton doesn't know when to dive, even when the big that's in drop is there, he still doesn't dive. Just because the big is there, that doesn't mean that you can't dive to the rim. That does not mean that. You got to just take a different angle, but you can 100% get there. Just because that big is there, that does not mean that, okay, now I can't dive. No, that does not mean that at all. In fact, because the big is in drop, that absolutely means that you can dive, because you're taking that, because now that big has to make a decision, right? So when Luka comes off that screen and that big is in drop, and with that big being in drop and Luka has that guard on his hip, that big has to make a decision, because you're diving. It happens with Rudy all the time. He now has to choose between whether it's a lob at the rim, whether it's hitting you in a short roll for a hook in the mid post, or it's just you diving to the rim and getting a layup. He's got to make a decision on that. So the idea that because the big is in drop, you can't dive, no. But I'm a firm believer, and I've said this about the Lakers in the past, and DeAndre Ayton specifically. I think he's giving me 16 or 17 a game, something like that. I think he's giving me either 16 or 17 a game this season. And I said I could possibly get 20 a game from him. And the reason why I felt like that was because, and the reason why I felt like that was because playing with Luka, right? Playing with Luka, what up, Leck? Playing with Luka, I'm gonna get 4 to 6 points just running, right? Just running the floor. I am going to get 4 to 6 points. Anthony Davis, the 25 that Anthony Davis averaged when he was with the Lakers, he got 4, 6, 8 points just rim running. Just rim running. And James would find him at the rim, because when you run, when the big man runs, who's back? Who's the first one back on defense? It's usually the guard who's pointing out, yo, go there, you there. That's who's doing that. Meanwhile, the big man, he's outrunning his big guy, and now that guard has got to hold him up until that big gets back. And more times than not, he can't. That's why when I watch DeAndre Ayton, I'm thinking to myself, big fella, why are you trailing plays when the ball comes off the rim? Run the floor. And I know I sound like an old head, right? I know I because I am an old head, if we're being honest. I know I sound like an old head, but that's because I am an old head. And there are some things in basketball that just don't change. And one of the things in basketball that doesn't change, big men running the floor, more times than not, are successful. When a big guy runs the floor, he's getting the basketball. When I see that big guy put his head down and start running, I'm looking for him. And more times than not, Luka, James, I'm thinking about the better distributors in the game. Trae Young, James Harden. When that big fella is running, he's looking for him. He 100% is looking for him, as he should. So I say that to say DeAndre Ayton is actually, DeAndre Ayton is giving me vibes that he wants to run. But it's almost like I got to yell at him for doing it. Big fella, run the floor. When in reality, that should just be second nature. Run. Because DeAndre Ayton is not a bad athlete. You know, he's not one of those bigs that's just lumbering. That's not him. That's not him at all, right? He's one of those bigs that he can get up and down the floor. There was a time when, and I thought this was a little much, but there was a time when DeAndre Ayton was compared, and I never bought into this logic, but there was a time when DeAndre Ayton was compared to David Robinson. It was because him being the athlete that he is. Now, I don't know if I ever believed that because I didn't, but that was going on. And that was going on because he would run the floor when he played with Chris Paul. Right? He would run the floor. He would run the floor when he played with Chris Paul. Now, again, I never bought into that logic because I mean, David Robinson is a superior athlete when it comes to him and DeAndre Ayton. I don't think he's a better athlete than DeAndre Ayton. I think he's a superior athlete. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to go off the rails. I don't want to go off the rails. I think that the Lakers would be much better, right? I think that the Lakers would be much better than what they already are, which is around where I had them. I had them around the 4 or 5 seed. I think I had them 5th before the season started. I think that's where I had them at. I had them at the 5th seed before the season started. So I think they're 4 right now in the Western Conference. And they've gotten some good minutes from Jake LaRavia. They've got some damn good minutes from Marcus Smart. I think he's definitely shored up their perimeter defense. I'm not somewhat, but I have been disappointed in, excuse me, I have been disappointed in Vando because I expected a D&3 guy, and I expected more offense from him than I got. And what ended up happening is I got a limited offensive player. I got a guy who needs guys to set him up. I thought that this is a guy who was working on his game in the offseason and would have been much better. And that just hasn't happened. So, but I want to hear from you guys. That's who I want to hear from. Is James Harden the problem in Los Angeles? How much better are the Lakers now? Who is the favorite in the Western Conference? I want to hear from you guys. What up?
What up, Chill? How you been?
Good, brother. What's going on?
I'm good. I'm good. So I wanted to respond to the James Harden thing, and then I had a question in regards to LeBron.
Sure.
So I don't think James Harden is the problem. I think at this pinnacle in his career, I watched the Maverick game the other day. I mean, when he wants to get to his bag, he can get to his bag.
Yes, he
I
can.
th- I think the problem falls under Lawrence Frank and Steve Ballmer. I say that because Steve Ballmer at the end of the day, like most owners, he's a businessman.
Yep.
They could have had chances to blow it up and everything, but we got to remember they did open a new stadium last year, and keeping a face front name like Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, that's going to help sell seats, because if you don't have those type of names when you're opening up a stadium,
Yep.
that's not going to sell the business. So, and I feel like Lawrence Frank kind of plays more of a puppet role in my head, because I know he was a former coach.
Sure.
I think he's just content that we're in the LA market. Let's just be suitable, kind of mediocre. And they've never blew it up ever since the Lob City era, if you ask me. So I don't know if I'm out of bounds there or not, but I don't think we'll ever.
They did revamp it after Lob City. They did go in a different direction with their league guard. They did go in a different direction. They actually, when they got Paul George and Leonard, they were moving toward that brand of basketball. The problem with that brand of basketball, BD, is it's short-lived because of who Leonard is physically. That's the problem. Now we find ourselves in a space where this team is built more conducive to James Harden's skill set, because if you look at the roster and you look at the guys, Derrick Jones Jr., Chris Dunn, Collins,
Yeah,
all finishers. None of these are go-get-it guys, right? All of these guys are finishers. And with them being finishers, that's where James Harden comes in, where he creates a lot of their offense.
Right.
And it works. But I also think that with James Harden, you find yourself watching a lot. So
You
they
do.
they built this offense around him. They built this unit around him. I think that they were on some wishful thinking logic in the aspect that they thought Leonard was going to hold up longer than he did, and I think that they held on to him longer than they should have.
And that was my point. I made the comment earlier in your comment section. I said maybe that's why they were cool with letting Norman Powell go, because we already got a ball dominant guy who can kind of run the show. We don't need to have a guy like Norman Powell. And my second point to that is, so if you can, Kawhi Leonard's value is a little high, kind of similar to Anthony Davis. Why not trade him now and see with what you can get? I mean,
I don't understand why
that's
they held on to him. I don't.
yeah. And then my second question, Chill. I'm not trying to sound like a big conspiracy theory guy, but that's why I like to ask you these questions outside the box. What do you really think is going on with LeBron James? I ask you that because All-Star game weekend, last second pulls out. This season, before the season starts, kind of, pulls out before the season, does the surgery. Do you think this is on some business, mad at the league that, I want to get this expansion team in Vegas? It's not happening. Do you have an idea of what really is? Because I feel like there's something going on with LeBron right now.
I
And
think
people
it's
aren't.
if I'm being honest with you, BD, I think it's a
Uh-huh.
combination of things. Well, one, I do think he's old. I mean, that's a fact. And with being
Mm.
old, there are injuries that mount. We're so used to seeing James that it's unfathomable to think that he could break down. Well, I mean, that is going on. On the other side of that, to your point, there are business decisions, because I think that there are injuries that he could play through.
Yeah.
I think that there are injuries that because we've seen him play through injuries all the time, right? And we've seen him play at a high level. Problem is that he's at an age right now where I really can't afford to play through injuries that are significant, because it could cost me a lot from a business standpoint. Sciatica is nothing to play with. I mean, that's something that years later, it could affect how you walk. I call it,
No,
I
yeah.
I call it the psychotic nerve. That's because the pain is so bad. I don't call it sciatica. I call it psychotic nerve. With that being said, I think that he, on some level, is definitely injured, and he's hurt. Not injured. I'm sorry. He's hurt, and he
No,
can't
for
go.
sure.
But
Uh-huh.
I also think that he's calculating how
Yes.
he's coming back. I'm not just going to throw myself back in the lineup. No, I'm not doing that. But I do think that the way you guys handled this with assigning him to the G League, which I think that you should have had him down there for a little longer to get some reps with those guys. And the example that I've always used, right? The example that I've always used is in baseball. I mean, I saw so many times Derek Jeter playing for the Trenton Yankees because he was on the 15-day disabled list. I saw Alex Rodriguez. I saw guys like Clayton Kershaw go down to AAA to get some reps and get sharp. People look at the G League like it's a demotion. It's not. It's actually
Yeah.
it's a tool used to
To
help
get
you.
back.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's there for. People see the G League. You're in the G League, you suck. No,
No.
it's called the developmental league for a reason, and they use it in baseball all the time. I don't understand why they don't do it in pro basketball more. I don't. So
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, Chill, but LeBron is a very smart, calculated businessman. And when he pulled out from the All-Star game hours before, it kind of
I didn't
created
like that.
controversy.
I did not like that at
I
all.
don't know, Chill. I think there's something going on that we don't know behind closed doors, but it is what it
Yeah,
is, and I know where to find you. Appreciate it.
absolutely, brother. Good to talk to you.
All right, take care.
What up?
Yo, Unc, what's good?
What's
My
up, brother?
audio
What's
good?
going on with you?
My audio good, right?
Yep, you hot.
First of all, the Clippers, I ain't gonna lie, man. The moment they traded Shea to OKC, I think that's where the beginning of the downfall happened. Now, mind you, Unc, that Clippers team probably was it the 2018-2019 Clippers team. They took 2 games off of that Golden State Warriors team.
Won 48 games that year. They were good. They had a good team.
Me personally, when they added Kawhi to that, I was like, yeah, that's something to worry about. But when they added Paul George, I was like, all right, we good. We good. They messed that whole culture up because I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you heard the reports. Kawhi reached out to Jimmy and Kyrie first.
Jimmy told him no.
And Kyrie was on his way to Brooklyn. So that
Jimmy
was enough.
no.
So PG was the third option. If you ask me, after them first two no's, they should have just rocked with that Pat Bev, Lou Will, Montrezl Harrell, Zubac, that Clippers team. That was a lot more scarier than that Kawhi and PG team.
Here's the difference, though. The difference is we didn't know who SGA was at that time. I mean, don't get me wrong. Right. I think that he looked like he could be a really good player.
Absolutely.
But first team All Pro, 4 straight years, league MVP, leading the league in scoring. No, I can't speak for everybody. I did not see that.
Right.
I did not think he was going to be that good. And also at that time, considering what Leonard was and what he had done, if you don't make that trade, you're getting fired.
What about the PG trade, though?
That's what I'm talking about, because that's why Leonard ended up with the Clippers. The reason why Leonard ended up with the Clippers was because he reached out to Paul George, told Paul George, if you can get to Los Angeles, I'm coming.
Oh.
That's the way that worked. That's
so he wasn't going there without no help.
No, he just wasn't going to Los Angeles. He wasn't just going home. Remember, he left $40 million on the table in Toronto. I'm not just going back home just because. Right. Don't forget, I'm a professional basketball player. Hence the term professional, which means I play for money.
Absolutely.
I make business decisions. So if I'm going back to Los Angeles, I'm going back to Los Angeles, and it's going to make sense. In addition to us winning, deals are going to be on the table. So if you could get your way, if you can make your way out of Oklahoma City and get to Los Angeles, I'm right behind you. And that's exactly what he did. Paul George demanded out. Paul George asked for a trade. They traded him, and it's not a coincidence that Leonard ends up signing with them. So I just think that they held on to him longer than they should have. You already knew who Kawhi Leonard was. He was already hurt when he was playing in Toronto, and we knew that. And with him being hurt, we knew that he had a shelf life. So if we're going to win this thing with these two guys, it's got to happen right now. It can't happen in 4 or 5 years because he's not going to hold up that long. And I thought that they made a mistake holding on to Leonard for as long as they did. So
could this be Kawhi's last season?
I actually had him out the league too. I think last year or the year before last, when he missed the playoffs. What year was that he missed the playoffs when he looked like he was the best player in the playoffs? That was the year Denver won it when they went up against when it was him and Russ.
Yeah. What was that, 23, right?
I want to say it was 23. When he missed the playoffs again, after missing the playoffs the previous year. It was that year that I was like, I don't think he's going to be around in 2 years. I thought he was finished. I didn't think his body was going to hold up. I'm actually surprised that he's still here. I am.
Speaking on the Lakers real quick, I was telling a lot of people, Bron got to come back and be the best dirty work guy in the world. It's no way Bron could come back and just be back on Bron type shit, bro. He really can't. Like, I'm basically looking for a souped up Draymond Green. Luka got to get his first. AR got to get his first. And then they got to come between Bron and Ayton. Am I tripping?
You think that Austin Reeves is better than James today?
I think Bron coming back could throw Austin Reeves out of rhythm. And me personally seeing Austin Reeves out of rhythm, that sounds like a stretch of maybe 13 points a game. Him ended up coming off the bench.
No.
And then he even more all into his head. And then you feel me, seeing it these past 2 years, maybe it was just a Darvin Ham thing. But it seemed like as soon as AR going to a bad stretch, we try to give him that confidence and coming off the bench and then 29 minutes. And he'll only give us like 15, 60 points on bad shooting.
Well, James, I mean, we got to give James more credit for the basketball mind that he is. You don't think he see what's going on with them and going, yo, when I get back out there, I'm getting right back in the middle of that. And sure. Not in a bad way, but he see what AR is doing. He sees what Luka is doing. I'm sure he's looking at that going, all right, what do I need to do to not only not disrupt this, but to enhance this? What do I need to do? I don't have to be one of them dudes that, I got to get mine. Nah, I'm not like that at all. So I do think he's going to help. I 100% think he's going to help. There's no way you can have a player like LeBron James on your roster, even at 40 years old, still this good, and he not help. There's no way that can happen. So good to talk to you, E. I appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate it, man.
Yup. What up?
Yo.
What up?
Not much. The Clippers, I don't know what to say about them. It's breaking my heart seeing Chris Paul getting all these DMPs. I think he should have just retired, and because he's already solidified himself as like going out as like a top 5 point guard ever. I truly feel confident in that. Kawhi Leonard just doesn't have it in him anymore. I don't think he can stay healthy enough. And I think the Paul George trade was so disastrous that the ramifications of that will last with this organization for years to come.
Lem, I got a question, and
Yeah.
I'm just going to be frank with you. I'm just going to be straight up and straight down. What is Chris Paul still doing in the league, yo?
Why
is he still here? What is he still doing here?
I think it's a thing that like DeAndre Jordan is. I mean, for if I'm being true, I think he's still trying to win a ring. I think he still has it in. I think he still thinks that he has it in him to push a team to be better because he's done it on every team that he's joined. But that's not entirely true, because when you look at the Spurs team that he joined, the only reason that they were better was because he wasn't playing full starting minutes.
Right.
And it was a Spurs team that is still trying to build around Wemby. Chris Paul joined to make Wemby better, to show Wemby the ropes, because it was his second year.
That part I could get with. Yeah, I can get with that part.
But like the Suns team, like absolutely, like he made that team better.
Sure.
The Clippers his first time around, he made better. The Hornets, he made better.
Sure.
After the Suns,
he fell off a cliff in Golden State.
Yes.
He
did not make Golden State better. He was
nobody
an
else can
active
tell me
hindrance.
otherwise. He did not help them like that.
Yeah, and I love Chris Paul. That's NOLA royalty, but he was an active hindrance on the Warriors. He was a cone on defense, or at least it felt like it, and he wasn't really able to unlock the offense because if you put the ball in his hand, then it's not in Curry's, it's not in Moody's, it's not in Pods, it's not in Kuminga's, where those are people that can actually shoot.
I just think that we're in a space with Chris Paul where it's okay to say it's over.
Yeah, it's never going to take away from his legacy.
This doesn't change my opinion on you at all, brother.
Yeah,
this does not. Like, you playing with the Clippers. I mean, in May of 26, he's going to be 41 years old.
I think, all right, genuinely, if I'm putting on like a conspiracy hat, I think him and LeBron are talking, and they have like a little side bet going on.
Like, let's see
who the first one to retire. Yeah, who's going to retire first?
Let's see who can go the longest.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, it would be James.
It's going to be, it's going to be Bron.
I think it's going to be Bron off the strength that James is a little bit more durable. That's as far as I'm going with that.
Before I leave, I came up here last time. I got to come back up here because now Willie's gone.
Yes, he is.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I know how y'all feel about Willie. I don't think he got a full fair shake because
he didn't.
The Pels have been sick, but there's a portion where y'all lose me in the argument of him being a good coach, because a good coach, you can see the progress that they make, and that the team, a team will either physically get stronger depending on the demands that are asked of them. Like Herb, right?
Yeah.
Herb has been this physique since he has joined the league.
Now, remember,
you
too,
would
Lem,
think,
I don't know if that's fair, because I know where you're going with this. I think Herb, he's got one of those wiry bodies. I think that's who Herb is. Herb is never one. He's not like Giannis or anybody that's going to fill out.
And
No,
I don't expect him to
that's
get
not
big
him.
like Giannis.
No,
but
I'm not saying
like
that, but I'm
a
thinking
little
about in
bit,
terms of filling out.
yeah, a little
I,
bit bulkier.
I don't think that's his body type. I think he's one of those guys that's just wiry, like Dennis, like Derek Jones Jr., like one of
Mhm.
those just wiry type of players that he's always going to be like that. That doesn't mean I can't get stronger because I
Yeah.
do think that he could get stronger. I just think that he's a wiry type of player.
I think that y'all were half right on the sense of just firing Willie does not solve this team's problems.
It doesn't. Mm-mm.
Yeah, there's a lot more holes, but it would be dishonest to say that Willie was not a problem.
Well, let me say this because I do think that he got a raw deal. So I lose Herb last year for the whole season. He was integral
Right.
on
Yeah.
what we were trying to do. Also lose Murray. That doesn't
Yeah.
help. And then on top of me losing Murray, I got Zion in and out of the lineup last year. So that doesn't help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have plenty of coaches who have had players that were in the lineup throughout the course of the season.
Mhm.
And we got to see what these groups look like. I don't think we ever really got to see what New Orleans looked like. That was largely due to the fact that his group was built around a guy who was injury prone, and it was
Yes.
it was
And didn't
primarily
take himself serious.
he didn't. I mean,
Yeah.
this year is probably the only year, and with the exception of maybe his second year, this year his second year is probably the only year that I thought that this dude is serious.
I think you can also throw his 2 years ago, the 70 game season.
Yeah, the year he made the All-Star team.
Yeah. No, after.
Because I know he played 66 games and he made the
He
All-Star
played
team that year.
66 and then
He missed the
he
season
did
the next
30
year.
and then he did 70 games because that was the year that in the play-in he dropped 40 on the Lakers.
And then end up
Yeah.
getting hurt. But
Yeah.
I think he took it more. I think he took it.
That was when he
more
started taking it
serious.
more serious.
I think this year he's probably been the most serious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and for a lot of the shit that we give Joe Dumars, Joe Dumars has been stated to be very like active and involved in Zion's rehab, his physique, his training, which I think is good because for being a like basketball historian and savant as Zion is, having someone like Joe Dumars by his side, like kind of like actively pushing him is good
it
for
could
him.
help. It definitely
Yeah.
it definitely could help. So what I'm seeing now, because now we're in a space in New Orleans where there may be a fire sale, but the only way that works is like you're gonna have to give up major pieces because you need that draft pick back. You definitely need that draft pick back.
But see, okay, and you can disagree with me on this. This is my take on it. I don't agree with the whole draft pick conversation, right?
Why is that?
And here, if you've got someone that is good, right? Like if you've got someone that you are trusting, right? You like this guy, you want to go after this guy, you get that guy, then that's that. The pick is that. Like you essentially just took a loan. You took a loan early. And now you have to make sure that loan pans out. Were there other ways to acquire him? Absolutely. I think giving that pick unprotected is dumb as shit. But I do think that him giving a pick and taking a loan out early to acquire Queen and Fears, who are playing really well together.
You think they're going to get this on the other side, is what you're saying?
I think it's going to get on the other side. And I don't think we are in fire sale yet. There's still time in the season. Now, this is the hopeful optimist in me. There's still time in the season. There's a lot more basketball to be played. We have James Borrego now. Our offense can start rerouting. James Borrego needs time to actually practice and train and get with these guys.
That's what Willie needed, though, Lem. That's the problem. Willie needed that, and he wasn't able to get that. And on top of that, like when you're talking about places like New Orleans, Utah, Washington, it's difficult to get free agents. So my draft picks, one, I need them, and two, this got to work. And this doesn't have to work in 6-7 years. Like this got to pan out.
Right. So but with Willie, I don't know how much you trust like certain article sites, but there was an article that came out on Hoops Hype.
Sure.
that depicted a bunch of internal problems through the Pelicans. And the
I'm not surprised
title of
about
the
that.
article, if you want to read it, it's called NBA Intel: Willie Green's firing, Joe Dumars' rough stretch, and what's next for the Pelicans. And in this article, it depicts what happened when firing Willie Green. How David Griffin, during the middle of last season, wanted to fire Willie Green. Gail Benson had gotten really close with Green and his wife and ended up firing Gail Benson got really close with Green and his wife, ended up firing David Griffin. Joe Dumars was then hired, and this starts an entire thing of Jordan Poole getting taken out of the starting lineup, and that was upsetting to him, and Trey Murphy starting to get tired of him, and everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of the people inside the Pelicans got mad at Willie for not holding Zion accountable. And it was so bad last season that it got to the point that the only person in the locker room that had Willie's back was CJ McCollum, who they traded.
Yeah, it was bad. Sounds like it was bad, though. Liam, good to talk to you, brother. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. So you see
Yes,
it.
sir. What up?
Yo, chill. How you doing?
What's up, brother?
Nothing much, man. I just want to talk about like what I think the problems with the Clippers are first, real quick. I just think when you look at that roster, what other guard can initiate offense at any sort of level other than James Harden? Who, I mean, I think if you're saying that it's James Harden's fault this team is bad, then I just don't know what you're watching. I mean, he's shooting the ball better than he did last year, 26-9. Like, there's just no one on this team that can initiate offense. Norman Powell, when he wasn't bringing the ball up and initiating.
He's a bucket getter. That's what he is. That's what Norman Powell is more than anything. What they did was they banked on Bradley Beal being a better bucket getter than him, and only except that didn't work.
Right, and I think it's kind of crazy. I can kind of see why they did that, but at the same time, it's like Norman Powell was trending upward the last 5 years. Like he was, even in Portland, he was consistently getting better numbers with the ball in his hands more. And I think, he wasn't bringing the ball up and doing anything crazy, but if you got him the ball on a closeout, he was going to attack the offense or attack the defense at a much higher rate than anyone else in the Clippers can right now. And he could still get the ball in isolation situations. And I just don't see anybody that can do that on the Clippers right now. And I feel like that's the biggest problem. Sure. And I think the defense, the perimeter defense, isn't as good as last year, and it's causing way too much pressure on Zubats and way too much pressure on Book to protect the paint. And I think that's a big reason why Zubats doesn't look as good either. So I just think you're asking your best players to do maybe a little bit more than they did last year, and I don't know if they're necessarily capable of doing that.
It sounds like a problem that became a big problem fast. This doesn't seem to me to be a problem that, like it kind of like just happened. No, this sounds like something that was a small thing that became a big thing really quickly. And the Clippers right before our eyes are just fading into oblivion. It's incredible because James Harden is the only bucket getter / playmaker / ball handler legit that they have that could create any kind of viable offense for them, because it's not Chris Dunn. And I think Chris Dunn is a fine player. But if you're talking about an offensive engine, you're talking about a guy who I can, like, for example, with Luka, if you're talking about a guy who I can get off the ball and allow this other guy to create offense like Austin Reeves does, that's not Chris Dunn. No. That's not Chris Dunn at all. So, I mean, I just think it's a combination of things with the Clippers, and I also think that this is something that unless they start playing better, there is no remedy, because there are no more trades, because they don't have any first round draft picks. And the guys that they have are old. So it's not like anybody's interested in those guys. None.
Yeah. And you look at James Harden's numbers the last 4 seasons, this is the most points he's averaged and almost the best efficiency. So, like, I'm not saying he's going to fall off a cliff, but, like, who's to say that he could continue this run for another, 60 games or whatever without getting hurt?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's, like, the biggest problem with them. But I think also, like, when you talk about the West in general, to me, it's just really hard to see a world where the Thunder don't make it. And I know it's like, the repeat thing, not a lot of teams repeat. But if you looked at the past couple years, like, this Thunder team is continuing to ascend. Like all of the players surrounding Shea, Chet, and J-Dub are getting better. Like Aaron Wiggins, Mitchell, like these guys are better than they were last year. And I think when you saw in the playoffs with the Thunder, there were situations where it looked like Shea was the only viable offensive player on the team. And that's going to happen. But like that's why I give Shea so much credit last year, was because I felt like if you watch their offense in the playoffs, he was like a big factor, like almost getting to like a Luka level gravity with his playmaking and his shot making and all of that stuff. But this year, it really looks like that this could change. Like Chet looks better on offense, as I said, Mitchell, Wiggins. And when you look at the other teams, I think Houston's the only team that I would worry about, because I think they're the only team that can match up physically and defensively. Because the rest of these teams on offense, it's either they have a bunch of good playmakers like the Lakers. They have 3 elite guys who can do stuff with the ball in their hands. But when it comes to the other guys, like shot making, catch and shoot threes, I think the Lakers don't have enough. And then you look at a team like Minnesota.
The only team that I think it is Denver. That's it. It's nobody else in the West.
Yeah, I
Denver's
think Cam Johnson's going to have to do better in order. Like he's going to have to like be able to not take over, but he's going to have to like put the ball in the basket a little bit more off the dribble in ISO situations. And Jamal Murray's going to have to continue to do what he's been doing in order for that to work. But I could see that for sure.
Yeah. Mike, good to talk to you, brother. I appreciate it.
You have a good one.
All right, guys, y'all know what time it is when y'all see me. I got to bounce. I will see you guys soon. You know where to find me at. I'm right here on Chilltown Hoops weeknights. I'm back in effect. This is where you can find me. If you can't find me here, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m., I'm on TikTok. If I'm not there, you can also find me on the panel from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock on the Players Choice Network. You can find me there. If you can't find me there, you can find me at 4 o'clock Eastern on Thursday or 12 o'clock Eastern on Saturday on the Players Choice Network. Me and my man Big Ox, we do it. So I'm not hard to find, guys. And tomorrow night, I will be right back here again. Me and my man Tony Tone, we do it right here. We will see you guys soon. Until then, put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. When's the last time you talked to your mother? Call your mother. I'll talk to you guys soon, man. But until then, take it light, but take it. Absolutely, man. It was good to see you guys tonight. This was dope. I enjoyed this. No doubt about it.